Hi everyone, welcome to another Terry Talk. This one's going to be interesting because I'm going to be called a hypocrite for this one. Why? Because I want to talk about time theft. Why does that make me a hypocrite? Stay tuned for that one. So what's time theft? Time theft is when workers don't perform their job duties during the hours the employer's paying them to do so. And in Canada, you can commit that by not working or being unproductive during paid time, or entering hours worked when the work wasn't actually completed. So, this also includes a bunch of other behaviors too. And this has really come to light during the whole work from home phenomenon we've seen over the last couple of years. Taking longer than scheduled breaks, logging off early, maybe you're doing household tasks when you're technically at work. All of those things could be construed or seen by your employer as being contrary to what you're being paid for. Now, the occasional thing is probably not going to be a big deal, but when it becomes habitual, it becomes a pattern of behavior, this is when it really starts to rise to the surface. Just came across an article recently, hope I get your names right, forgive if I don't, by Sam Firo and Tamarkin, a law firm. They were talking about a recent case in BC, the Civil Resolution Tribunal ordered an accountant to pay back over $2,600 after the company's tracking software found that they had committed time theft while working remotely, doing a work from home scenario. They were actually able to show there was a 50-hour discrepancy between timesheets that were submitted and the activity recorded on her computer by a program called TimeCamp. Now, the next question is, whoa, hold on a second. Can you monitor staff? Well, turns out in Ontario, there isn't any legislation that gives you the right as a non-unionized employee now to avoid being electronically monitored. However, there are limitations, of course, what we can and cannot collect. Employers can monitor, but activities, as long as it's measuring only company data to the best of the company's ability to do that. So it can be monitored. The repercussions, well, you can be put on paid or unpaid leave. If you're a working from home person, they may say, hey, listen, we need you to come into the office. Or they may force you to make up the lost time, and you can be fired. So all of those repercussions are in place, and these are all the tools that organizations would have. So what's the problem here? Well, I think the problem is, once again, we're stuck in Taylorism. Plug for the book. Some of you have seen this. In Desuckify Work, I talk about this very thing, is that we're stuck in this notion of scientific management. We measure everything. And this is what makes me a bit of a hypocrite, because in a consulting firm, we actually measure billable hours. So I recognize some of the team watching this are going, hey, dude, what's going on? But the problem is we don't know how to measure productivity any other way. It's this, this notion of time clocks and whatnot. And instead of focusing on value generation, imagine, if you will, you had a machine that was you're able to get that machine to create the same amount of value in half the time. Would you punish that machine? I don't think you would. You would celebrate that. So we don't do that with our humans. So value generation, we need to shift the equation away from tracking time to tracking the value that's created. And until we do that, I think we're always going to have that issue niggling at us. Focus on value generation. Secondly, we scream this all the time. You've heard me talk about this 100 times, I'm sure. One size fits one. So everybody's a little bit different. Everybody has different skills and combinations of skills and experiences and knowledge. Let's job craft to make them the most productive they can be. What takes somebody 3 hours might take somebody else 2 hours, but it's about the value generation, and in exchange for that value generation, for what you're compensating them. Obviously, this is a whole Pandora's box, but the second piece here, the third piece perhaps, is leaders. Wherever the leaders in these situations, they need to be checking in on their people. Say, how you doing? Checking, how you doing? How are things going? How are you making out, as opposed to checking up on the status of things, which is what we're typically more apt to do as leaders. So focus on value creation, focus on leadership that are have, the empathy and the care and the compassion for people to make sure that they are getting the resources they need, and not just checking up on them, but checking in to make sure they're okay. Now imagine next week, I plan to talk about taking naps at work and the importance of that, not only for mental health, but for your own productivity. And in light of time theft, wow, isn't that going to be interesting? So as always, we look forward to hearing your thoughts on these topics. Drop us a note, come by, have a chat, whatever. We're always curious about that. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can continue to follow what I hope is an interesting topic for you. We'll see you again soon.